Hello, we are live. All right, just giving folks a minute to join. Dun, 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 dun. Happy Friday or whatever day you are watching this. I'm Claire Wasserman, founder, author of Ladies Get Paid. We are an educational platform, global community, and of course, a book all about helping women earn more and live better. Woo, I say that so fast now. So welcome to my Founder Friday lessons learned. We love a good alliteration over here. This is what I share. Yes, of course, things I learned, but more specifically, what I've learned in working with my coaching clients over the week. With their permission, I am going to be telling you about some of the challenges that we worked on, of course, protecting all identifying details, and some key takeaways that I think, might be helpful for you because they were helpful for them. And by the way, if you're interested in working with me, come and check out my new website, clairewasserman.com. It is officially live today, and I am taking on a couple of new clients. So first, congratulations, we made it. If you are watching this after Friday, on whatever day it is, congratulations again. You still made it. But for today, it is the last day of June and we did it, guys. Okay, so let me go through and tell you about these clients that I met with this week. And by the way, if you see my face going back and forth, my eyes going back and forth, that's because I am simultaneously on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn because technology is awesome. All right, so let me start with a client of mine who she's just really struggling to articulate her unique skill set. And she definitely is unique. She's had a series of pivots throughout her career. And it's pretty wild. She's a very interesting person. But, given the fact that recruiters only spend about 7 seconds on your resume, that's a tall order for anybody, but especially if you're somebody who does not have that kind of traditional linear path, you certainly cannot put her in a box. And she came to me feeling like, a lot of the feedback she was getting was, you just don't have the exact experience we're looking for. So the question was, can you turn something that is a seemingly default or not default, seemingly a negative into a positive? How can we show that being a non-traditional candidate is actually a benefit? First and foremost, whenever I approach a challenge and I'm anticipating the other side and all of their concerns, whether this is a negotiation or an interview, what are all of the obstacles and can I proactively speak to them? And the obstacle in being a quote non-traditional candidate who doesn't have the quote exact experience, well, it's that the learning curve is going to be steep, right? You don't want to take a bet on somebody who hasn't gone through this before. So a great way that you can approach it is by first and foremost talking to people who have had the job that you're looking to do before and really getting insight from them about what their challenges are and what they wish they had known. Okay. That way you can not just say, trust me, I can do it, but you can say, I've done my research and I've talked to folks about what's hard in this job. And here are things I've done in the past and skills that I've built and research in general that I've dug into that I hope can show you that I learn quickly. So it's that emphasis on growth that you really, really want to underscore. However, for her, because she was such a unique candidate, and by the way, doesn't matter who you are. I think this is actually good advice in general if you're looking to just find a job and sort of struggling. If you don't have experience, the exact experience, give yourself the exact experience. What do I mean by that? It's a little bit of a chicken and the egg, right? Like you're like, can somebody give me an opportunity so I can prove myself? Well, it's like those first year jobs where they say you got to have 5 freaking years of experience for your first year job. Like it just doesn't make sense. So how do you give yourself opportunity? I think you can do it in a few ways. One way is to create what I call, and I have to come up with a better word for this, I think, but a fantasy case study. Okay. So in her case, she had, there were a number of brands that she really wanted to work with. She also had this big dream of creating like this specialty, sustainable, like 55-acre farm in North Carolina. She just like really, really cool ideas. And I said, why don't you add to your website? Pretend that you worked with these people. Of course, still be explicit that you didn't, right? We don't want to lie here, saying these are, my own case studies that if I were to work with these clients, here's what I would do. And really detailing out how she would work with them, demonstrating her thought process, because that to me in my interactions with her, what was most impressive about her, what was most unique, was she was a really good strategic thinker. How do you show somebody that you're a strategic thinker? Well, actually, I just used the word I want you to really remember: show. Because so often we are focused on telling people things, promise, like, trust me, I can do the job, or I'm a motivated person, right? Anyone can say that. So I really want to challenge us to show and not tell. And one way to do that would be to have these fantasy case studies. Even this dream she had of creating a farm, right? Pretend that the state of North Carolina, that's where she wants to do it. I said to her, pretend that the state of North Carolina is your client, and literally walk through, if the state of North Carolina came to you with a 55-acre property and had a certain challenge, here's what you would suggest to do, etc. Right? Now, depending on what you do for a living, this might be easier than others. I mean, if you are a designer, this is the easiest thing to do, right? Take a brand that you have a really creative idea for and, map out what you would do for them. But I still think, regardless of how sort of obvious it is to do this, I think we all can come up with kind of fantasy case studies, fantasy clients of what we would do if we were hired. Okay. It's also going to show some gumption, and it's going to keep you motivated because you'll be in that work mode. I think a lot of times, when you're going through long unemployment, you lose your confidence, not just because you're not getting the job, but because you're out of practice, right? Like, you're not flexing those muscles. All you're doing is applying for work. That's boring, right? So, I just really encourage you to get in the mindset of, if I'm not being given the opportunity, how can I create the opportunity? Next client. And by the way, if you're just joining me, I'm Claire Wasserman, founder and author of Ladies Get Paid, and I am available for some coaching clients. I have a couple spots open. Check me out at clairewasserman.com. And if you're sending me a request to be in my video, you're not getting accepted. Okay. Love to have a snarky comment here and there. Next client that I worked with this week, she has a business that she's had this business for a while. It's not really working. She kind of wants to revamp it. She knows she needs to redo her website. And something she's kind of struggling with is her elevator pitch and kind of like the exact services that she would be offering. And and also like monetizing, and she was really like getting ahead of herself. And it's good to think ahead, but oftentimes that becomes very overwhelming, right? So I encouraged her first to go for a walk, okay? Because sometimes when you're trying to come up with ideas and you're just sitting in front of your computer, man, like, who gets better ideas when you are actually not trying to come up with anything, but instead engaging in something else, right? Like walking or, even showering. I come up with good ideas in the shower. So I said, go for a walk and think through who you have helped in the past, because she's had clients before, but not just formal clients, informally. I want everyone to think about that too. Don't just consider formal experience you've had as your experience. If you have done the work in any way, shape, or form, regardless of if you were, paid for it, you still did the work. Okay. So I said, think to the past of people who you've helped and just write out kind of the story of those people. So instead of focusing on what's my elevator pitch, because that's when we get real tripped up in the language, it ends up being often jargony, right? Or just doesn't sound like you or isn't you. Go back to the people that you've helped, and for each of them, write out who they are, what their challenge was, and how you helped them. And you're going to really see patterns with them. And I think she had, well, I'll speak for myself because I did this, when I redid my own website, this is what I did. And I think I got about 6 of these kind of archetypes of clients that I work with. And what was so great in my writing was that it was very visual, right? It was very visual. And as I did that, I really saw some patterns of the kind of work that I do. And also, I could see, as I wrote about some of these clients, there were a couple of people I helped before that, yeah, I might have helped them and had a great impact, but I didn't really like doing it. So this is also a great exercise for you to really get in tune with what the heck lights you up. Because especially if you're starting your own business, just because something can make money or it's needed or somebody told you they should, they wanted it, don't do it unless it lights you up, because running a business is really, really, really hard. So it has to be serving you, your soul, because it might not be serving you financially for a while. All right. And so I said, okay, go and take your walk, write out who have you helped before, what their challenges were, how you've helped them, and then really whittle down from there, what do you actually want to do moving forward? And then underline key words, right? The elements of what you did and who you helped, that will become the foundation of the elevator pitch and the services that you then present. Plus, it's probably going to give you all the language you need for your website. So even when you go to my own, right, clairewasserman.com, and you click on the coaching site, you're going to see at the top, reach out if this sounds like you. And I have 6 scenarios that if you've been in them, I can help you, right? And the way that I got there was just going on that walk, going, who have I even helped before? Thanks for the kind words, Amy. Appreciate you. All right. So next client challenge this week. This person was seeking more exposure for their business. So she's been in business for a long time, and she does a variety of things, wants to just be more intentional about her work. And I think is also craving a little bit of a community component to it. And she said to me that she'd considered maybe creating a blog. I've had so many clients before come to me and say, should I make a blog? Should I make a podcast? And I'm like, before you get to the medium in which, it doesn't matter what the medium is right now. First of all, what's your message? Okay. Who do you want to reach? But most importantly, where are those people already? And guess what? We looked on her LinkedIn, or I looked on her LinkedIn. This woman has like 26,000 followers on LinkedIn. Okay. And I said, why would you create a blog? I mean, let me actually back this up. Create a blog if you want people to go to your website, okay? That's a reason to put a blog up on a website, right? But if the point of the blog is not about driving traffic to your website, but rather conveying information, why would you drive traffic to a place that doesn't have community? Instead, really use LinkedIn. Go where the people are. She already had tons of followers on LinkedIn. And I said, your blog could really just be a LinkedIn newsletter. And don't start with the LinkedIn newsletter because that's really big. How about you just start with more consistent, intentional posting? And you can start, you can kind of use those postings on LinkedIn as almost beta testing, right? You can see what's resonating with people, what's, in terms of the engagement, right? And because she was starting to get ahead of herself and think about, well, what's going to be my, what's the again, elevator pitch for my LinkedIn newsletter? If these things are too big and overwhelming, I urge you to go, what's the smallest denominator I can get to here that will, and please listen to this, that will help me test what I am doing, okay? That I'm testing what I'm doing. So, and I said, and whether or not you want to create a podcast, I mean, it's easy to record, write out your blog posts or write out your LinkedIn newsletter. You could just record a narration of it. And you could start experimenting to see maybe more people want to listen to you than read it, right? Because maybe they're commuting. But don't declare that you are now creating a podcast when you don't yet have that kind of feedback loop that I was talking about, right? The next client that I helped this week that I thought had a really interesting situation. This is about negotiation, guys. Okay. So long story short, she has worked at this organization for many, many years. She started as an intern and is now has the opportunity to pitch herself to become a director. She actually got to write her own job description. It's obviously a little more complicated than that, but she has extremely good leverage. There's a project they want her to start on immediately. She knows the company needs her. The thing that she's just struggling with, and I have heard many other people go through this, is how do you get them to see you differently when you started at such a junior position with a junior paycheck, and now you are way beyond that. And actually, at first it was, how do I get them to see me differently? But then we both realized, actually, she needed to see herself differently. There's a term for this that somebody once said to me, and it's called baby bear syndrome. Right? So again, when you come to an organization at a low level with a low paycheck, but you grow, how do you no longer kind of compare yourself to what you were? And, I had to really dig into the business impact that she's had, the financial impact that she's had in the work that she's done, but also in this job proposal that she presented, which, by the way, they accepted. They said, we want you to have this job proposal. We're okay with the director's salary. However, she had a feeling they were going to be benchmarking her new salary based on what she'd previously made. And that was just inappropriate. And by the way, there's a reason that we do not base our next salary on our last one. Think of the salary history ban. Google that law. If you have not heard of it, the salary history ban makes it illegal for employers to ask candidates how much they currently make. This is a state by state law. That's why I want you to Google it. So see if it's where you live, okay? So knowing that it is illegal, or there is a reason that we now do not want to base our next salary on our previous one, I had her really go into, here's how I make the company money. Here's how I save the company money, right? A lot of that was also about save time. And then I also had her, really reflect, is the job that she's about to do the job of multiple people? How about that? Because it really was. She said, yeah, this is like 3 people's jobs. And I said, so instead of seeing this as a huge number that you're asking for, instead, I would love for you to see this as a discounted number. Because if they were to hire 3 people with 3 full salaries and benefits, they would be paying a lot more money. So we are actually looking at this new salary in relation to 3 people's salaries instead of in relation to what you made as an intern. See what that perspective shift does, right? And if you're ever feeling like, dang, this number I'm asking for, it just feels really uncomfortable. First of all, if it's rooted in market research, this is not a random number, right? If it's rooted in market research and you have a defensible case, you have evidence to back it up, then actually, I think you should feel rest assured you're charging the right amount. Because if you don't feel uncomfortable by it, it's probably not enough. Last client that I helped this week was debating if they should stay at their current job or take a so-so offer. And I really, to me, this is about a pros and cons list, cost benefit analysis. It's such a personal question. Part of it is, what are you getting? What are you giving up? Okay. And also, in the what are you getting, how can you use this? So in this next job, it's a bridge job. And I want to make the distinction between a stopgap job and a bridge job. To me, a stopgap job is something that is outside of your field that you are taking because you just simply need the paycheck. And there is absolutely no shame in the financial game. It doesn't matter what you do. If you need that money, you go get that money. Okay. A bridge job to me is a job that, yeah, maybe you don't really want the job. However, is it going to make it easier for you to get your next job? And she realized, yeah, I think this job, it's a pivot into a new industry that does ladder up a little bit more coherently into this next job, ideally into this next industry that I'd like to go in. Also, she, again, the job, it's not her dream job, but the networking, there was going to be growth in it that she could then leverage for the future. There were also challenges with it. She was concerned about burnout, mental health, that this was a startup. It was going to be, she would just like not be able to continue to look for work. And then I said, well, then that's a challenge to you to set guardrails from the beginning to really make sure that you are aware of when you start to overwork / when you were being asked to do things outside of scope, that from the beginning, you have established allies that you can talk to about this and really get them to help you, really help in setting boundaries. Because I don't think that this is like an either or, right? Like either this is a terrible job or a good job. I think we can make terrible jobs workable, right? So in your offer letter, they should write, I will make you an offer you can't refuse. It might help. I'm not sure what that means. But point being, I think if we can get outside of this binary view of like dream job or shit job or, burnout or not burnout, I think there's just a lot of middle ground that we can create for ourselves, but it does require A, knowing yourself, and B, being able to identify opportunities. Yeah. And like I used that word allies before, especially if you're starting a new job, really make it a goal in the first couple of weeks to connect one-on-one with people and then pay it forward and also be transparent about things you're looking to learn. Don't just wait for bad things to happen, right? Or don't wait till you need something. Like the time is now. And I know you might be thinking, oh, that's more work I have to do. But listen, burning out or being in a bad situation, if you can prevent it by doing a little bit of work up front, that's actually saving you energy in the long term. All right. So that's my weekly updates. Those are my client takeaways. Like I mentioned earlier, I am taking on a couple of new clients, and I just finished my new website, clairewasserman.com. Thank you for allowing me to look back and forth. Hello, my Instagram friends. Hello, my all other friends here. I'll be back next week, but also most days I go live at noon on the Ladies Get Paid LinkedIn page with various coaches. We have actually coming up this Monday, we have a decision coach. Isn't that cool? She helps people make better decisions. I think this is going to be a really interesting one. We always record those videos. So if you can't make it live, no worries, come back later. But in the meantime, most importantly, take care of yourself. Happy weekend. If you're watching this on a Friday, much love. Now go get paid.